This is Matt Pearce. Jesus Christ gave us the goals, but Gandhi gave us the tactics. Hi everyone, I'm Matt Pearce. Welcome to our show. We can call this kind of the Christmas show, I guess, because we're not going to have another show until after Christmas and New Year. So we've got... so you better introduce yourselves, I think. Who's here? Who's next to me?
All right, I'm Simon Lee Ka-ho, and I'm so glad to be in the last show of 2009.
Okay.
Yes.
And who else have we got?
And I'm back. I'm Kenneth Lee.
Okay, so, and you guys are going to be coming here, well, Simon's going to be here, my regular guest, and Kenneth is going to be here every 2 months, isn't he?
Yes.
And we've also got Ken, our coordinator.
Yes, hello.
You're going to be well behaved today, Ken. Is it?
Why?
That's not my style.
You gotta see it.
Okay, so we want to get straight in, I think, and talk about... we've got a few issues we want to talk about. Later in the show, we're going to talk a bit about Copenhagen and Hong Kongers' views of that. But in the first half, we want to talk about the big story, the big political story in Hong Kong, talking about the 5 constituencies referendum. And which has obviously there's been quite a bit of news in Hong Kong. But I thought to start off with, just to set the scene in order for our international audience, because hopefully we've got quite a few people from different countries, and especially Chinese people in other countries listening. But I thought we'd better just briefly explain again. I tried to in the last show actually, but I've done a bit more research, and someone very kindly has put the definition of the 5 constituencies referendum on Wikipedia. So if anyone is interested, they can type that in and they can get the best definition, really. But let me just briefly explain a bit of background, exactly what's happening in Hong Kong. Basically, it says on Wikipedia, a few sentences, it says, the 5 constituencies referendum is a political act planned by Democrats of Hong Kong. The plan is to have one legislator resign from each of the 5 geographical constituencies, then stand again in the resulting by-elections. The idea is to let every registered voter in Hong Kong have a chance to vote on a single topic, which is likely to be universal suffrage, within a clear time frame towards the elections of the legislature and executive of the Hong Kong government, as promised by the Basic Law. Because the government refuses to hold an official referendum, the Democrats hope this can be a de facto referendum on the speedy implementation of democracy in Hong Kong. So that's basically the plan. But the latest situation is the Democratic Party in the past few days have had a big vote. They basically invited all their members and had a big vote. And the result of that vote is that 81% of their members, and apparently 280 members turned up, 81% decided to vote against this plan, basically, that the League of Social Democrats and the Civic Party have had, which certainly, it was expected, wasn't it? It was expected, but obviously it's in stone now that the Democratic Party have basically totally against it. So, I mean, what are your initial thoughts, you guys? Simon, do you want to... on what's happened as regards the Democratic Party in the past few days.
Lots of people describe the end result of the vote in the sense that it is like the Democratic Party is committing suicide. In a sense that, first of all, they are putting themselves in quite a difficult position, because when today we know that both the Civic Party and the LSD are definitely going ahead in terms of the mass resignation. So you have the Civic Party on board for sure as well. So which means that next year, next January probably, you will have the 5 legislators going to resign. Which means that if the end result of this de facto referendum is a big yes, then it's as we know, because LSD usually is not quite broad support sort of party, right? It's a bit on the end of the spectrum. So if they really succeed in terms of gaining their seat, which means that you do have a lot of people supporting the issue, perhaps. The referendum issue, instead of just the candidates. If that's really the case, I think these people who voted yes in the referendum in terms of universal suffrage, or we don't know the referendum issue yet, but they would be definitely quite very disappointed with the Democratic Party. And if the result is not that satisfactory at the end, people would also blame the Democratic Party for not really putting their whole heart in this issue. So in either case, I think they're really designing their own graves at the moment.
Yeah. So you think that in many ways, as a result, many people might take away their support from the Democratic Party and either put it towards LSD or the Civic Party. Is possible in terms of people's people out there who are.
I mean, at least if you go on to the Chinese online chat room or the online forum, what you can see at the moment from lots of people who commented, one very usual comment was that the legislators in the Democratic Party have been there for so long that they lost their guts. They are not really fighting for democracy, treat it as a job, always play it safe. And they've been there for all the time, and were they really wholeheartedly supporting universal suffrage? I mean, the thing is that what really pissed people off is that they have been talking about fighting for universal suffrage all the time. And all they did, what they did, Matt? Only annual demonstration, July the 1st. And sometimes the Democratic Party had jumped from the sea before, or to get the people's attention. Not much else. And then now you are arguing against the 5 constituencies referendum, de facto referendum. But you are not putting any better solution on the table.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really, really discouraging, I think.
Yeah, you're right about that. They should at least be willing to come up with some sort of better strategy or solution, I think. But it is interesting that there is a small group of the Democratic Party, the sort of the few younger members, I think, who have split, who've voted against it. It's 20% of members voted in the opposite direction, and were sort of protesting outside the meeting a bit, I think, as well. I mean, what do you make about that, and how will that sort of play out and stuff? Do you think they might potentially, that group might split away from the Democratic Party potentially?
Yes, that's right. Because if you really took a look at the Democratic Party commitment and what they have really done in terms of getting people's attention to fight for the universal suffrage, I think the younger sector, the younger people, younger supporters of the Democratic